Hi, I'm Strider, your host here at Author in the Headlights, and we're at the Chanticleer Authors Conference, and one of our keynote speakers happens to be Dee Black.
Thanks for having me.
I know him as Adam.
I go by Adam in real life.
You do?
Yeah.
So what brought you to Chanticleer?
I always try to teach and give back as much as I can to the author community, and so Kiffer asked, and I said yes. That was pretty much it. Especially passionate about teaching about marketing, and so just did that class, and always like to hang out with authors when I can.
So do I, actually.
Yeah. It's a good time, and if I can pass on some useful information to somebody, that makes it even better.
It's true, because we learn better by telling somebody else. You can
Yes.
teach anything if you know one, my mom told me this, you can teach anything if you knew one class more than the students.
Yes, and at this one, Kiffer asked if Cayenne, my assistant, would teach a class on TikTok, and one of the reasons I hoped she would say yes is because she'd have to think it through on an even deeper level, and she did a great job.
And I went to that class.
Very good.
Good too. Yeah, so your books, now you've written in other monikers other than Dee Black, haven't you?
Yeah, so my first pen name was A.C. Fuller, and I have 25 books, something like that. A lot of them are novellas under that pen name. And those are more thrillery, and my new Dee Black books are more mysteries with some police procedural elements in them. And one of the new series is FBI Mystery Series.
Well, I know, and I was talking with Robert Dugani in our interview that we had together. He said he didn't hit the big market, the big time, until like book 7. He said,
Yeah.
Just keep going, just keep producing, because yes, you want to get sold, but you just write because you want to write. So, you're pretty big on the market right now. But
Yeah.
when did that come about? How long did it take for your work to get out there? For other writers and authors, we need to know these kind of things.
Yeah, so I think success is relative. I remember reading Robert Dugani's bio when I was just starting to get serious about writing, and it said something about he'd been kind of grinding away for 10 years before he sold his first book, I think. And unfortunately, that is the case for a lot of people. It wasn't the case for me, but he was breaking into big-time traditional publishing, whereas my first publisher was a lot smaller. So it took, in my first book, I think success is relative, right? So
Absolutely.
it sold, a few thousand copies, which for some people in some genres, they might consider that a home run. For mainstream thrillers,
Yep.
I did not consider that a home run at the time. So then it kind of built from there. I had a series that didn't do as well, and I wrote a series called The Crime Beat, which did quite well. So overall, that pen name did okay, and the books were, I would say, good. But I kind of, looking back at them, I knew these books are never destined to really break out into mainstream success, because they weren't good enough, unfortunately. They were a little quirkier. Some of the writing was a little too dry. I'd come from a journalism background, and so the writing was a little drier than maybe I wanted it to be, just because that was the journalistic style. So then, when I decided to write mainstream mysteries, I wanted to start afresh, because they were going to be better than my other books and different than my other books. And so I launched this pen name in August of 2022. In July of 2023, I think the 4th book in the series came out, and I started getting better at running Facebook ads and other marketing techniques, and then it became the #1 mystery series on Amazon in 2023.
So not only did your writing technique get better because
Yes.
you had previous year, you learned a lot from it, but then you also learned how to market yourself
Correct.
and how to produce, and it finally you get
Yeah,
the wheel rolling.
It was
and
all of it,
the
yeah.
momentum picks up.
My first writing conference, I met Robert Dugani, and the advice he gave everyone is immerse yourself in both the craft and the business of writing
Yes.
if you want this to be a career, which not everyone does, but if that's what your goal is, do both, and do both as much as you can. And so I had definitely taken that advice. So all the time I was writing, I was learning more marketing. I had an agent for a while. We tried to break into traditional publishing, which, funny enough, I might be re-signing with that agent now for film and TV rights for my series. So it comes full circle. But so I was just learning as much as I could, both about what works in terms of the craft and what works in terms of the marketing.
Well, yes, you're a writer, but make writing your business.
Yeah.
And business is more than just writing books.
Yes.
It is. There's so much more.
There's so much
if you
more.
don't get into it, you won't advance.
Yeah, and I always tell people, when I talk to groups, like there's all people in every room. I just taught a class on marketing, and there was maybe 60 or 70 people there, and some people, their goal is to go from selling 5 copies a year to 50 copies a year, and that is a perfectly valid
Absolutely
goal.
right.
For other people, it's just to finish their first book, and for other people, it's to go from selling 10,000 copies a year to 100,000 copies a year, or to quit their day job. Like, everyone has different goals, and so I think just start where you are, and but do then try to keep growing, because what's the point otherwise, in terms of your craft and in terms of your marketing, if selling books is one of your goals, which most people who come to these conferences, that is one of their goals.
It's one of the goals. One of the reasons we write is so that we'll read it.
Yeah.
And if you don't sell it, nobody reads it.
Yeah, it's, you know, sometimes I wish it wasn't part of it. I've said, and almost every writer I know has said, I wish I could just write. But even the top traditionally published authors these days, their publishers are trying to get them to do more social media and do more promotion, and all the stuff that indie authors have to do, a lot of the traditional authors
That's
are
right.
doing as well.
It isn't the Hallmark version anymore of the publishing company taking it. Here's your book. I turn it in, and they go with it.
You turn in some slop, and Maxwell Perkins, the brilliant editor, saves it and publishes it.
That's right.
And you go on to literary fame.
Or just chop out, that chapter and that chapter.
It's usually not like that. I went to a writing conference where George R. R. Martin taught a class, and he said that even when Game of Thrones was the biggest show in America and he was financially doing quite well, his publisher sent out 2 young people, interns, to try to convince him to get on more social media. And he was, at the time, one of the biggest authors in the world, still is, highly successful, quite well off, and they wanted him to post more on Facebook and social media. It's like, if even he's getting that at his level, right, we kind of all are going to have to do it.
It's the way of the world.
If we want to move copies of our books. And he, I think, politely declined. He has a couple interns who do social media for him, I think, but he's not on Twitter, giving his thoughts about everything like Stephen King and some other authors are. It also depends on what you enjoy,
It is. And it's hard to be everywhere and to do everything and to know how to do everything. You just, I can't.
I like to say it's good to pick 1 or 2 social media platforms or internet platforms and try to get very good at those, rather than being so and inconsistent on 5 or 7 platforms.
I actually did nothing. I'm of a different era.
Yeah.
Come on, dial telephones, and it was a party line. You pick it up, and somebody's talking to the other end. You hang up.
I remember that era too. I was a kid during that era, but I was there.
And so to me, I had a Facebook account. I never opened it.
Yeah.
I never used it. It just was okay. I got one because somebody said you got to have one of those. So I built one now for my business, and yes, I'm on there fairly frequently now.
Yeah.
But I learned yesterday more about TikTok. TikTok. Yes. I don't know. That's what a clock does. I have never been on it.
Yeah.
But I learned that's something I probably need to figure out.
Yeah.
So it may be a horrendous effort, but if you're going to go down in flames.
Yeah. It's TikTok is a little tougher nut to crack too. We've had some success there, but not nearly like we have on Facebook and other places. And who knows? TikTok may not be around forever. But
true.
The one thing
they do change. They do
the
change.
one thing I pointed out in the class yesterday about TikTok was just that short form video, short entertaining videos, we know those aren't going away, even if TikTok diminishes or gets banned, which they probably won't. But even if they do, that traffic will move to Instagram Reels, to YouTube Shorts.
There are other social media platforms you can use that work similarly enough. You can figure them out. Somebody can. And if I can, I know you can.
Yeah, but the short form video can be a very effective marketing tool. Yeah, whether it's TikTok or somewhere else.
Yeah. So you got your marketing platform down, Pat. You've got you're a prodigious writer. How many books have you written? More than me.
Something like 30-ish now, if you count 9 novellas, which are shorter. So 30-ish if you count those. Maybe 20 or so novels now. And I've got an 800-page epic fantasy book that's not done.
Yes,
that's sitting on my laptop.
There.
So that I don't count that, but
Evening Empire, right?
Yeah. So it's the first one's going to be called The End of Kings, and the series is called Evening's Empire. Which I talk about it like it's real, but you can't actually get these things.
Whole change of genre. So from your mysteries and your thrillers to epic fantasy.
Yes.
Big step.
Yeah, well, that's not done yet. I mean, I knew it was going to be very hard, but I started it
I
5
doubt
years
it.
ago and it's still not done.
There's the process. It's
Yeah.
not that it's hard, it's that it's new, so a different thought
It's new, it's
programming.
different, yeah.
Because we do kind of write by template.
Yeah.
We know in our genre, because they change.
Right.
We write, kid stories. It's not going to be the same as if you're writing romance.
Yeah.
Duh. And so it'll have its own pace and its own template that you fulfill.
Yes.
But I presume you read in that so you know what you want to
Yeah,
get
I've
to.
read a lot in that genre, but doing it myself is not easy. It's also just much more complicated because there's 7 point of view characters. It's a lot
Yes.
longer of a book, and also I want it to feel not like a long meandering epic fantasy book. I want it to feel like a fast-paced
It's going
mystery, even though it's going to end up probably, I'm going to cut it, but it's going to be probably 600 or 700 pages. But I want it to have the pacing of one of my mysteries, and 7 point of view characters and a lot of complex world building. So it's just a lot harder task for me than writing another mystery is.
What did Dugani say? Keep tension on every page.
Yeah.
So the long wandering may be a great story, real pretty and poetic
Yeah.
and gorgeous, but does it carry that tension?
Yeah.
And that tension is what keeps people's interest, those readers'
Right.
interest to it.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm hoping this summer to finish that. We're going to find out if I actually do or not, though.
Well, we'll see who gets done with their book first.
Are you hoping to finish this summer?
Yes, Recalled, which is book 3 of the trilogy,
Mhm.
The Adventures of Ronan Stone. It's sitting there, but I'm doing things like this, Author in the Headlights, and
Yeah,
it takes time. There's only so much time.
yeah.
And so, yes, I have no good excuses other than I haven't sat down to do it. And now I've got
Yeah.
another book that came to me, honestly. I woke up the other night, last week, asked my wife, I woke up and go, oh my gosh, I have a story.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those, I have a story. I have a story that's not just a good book. This is a national bestseller. And
You want to
the-
whisper it in my ear and
it's-
I can steal it from you? Just
It's
kidding.
called Loss.
Loss? Okay.
Well, I even have the name for it
What kind of
because
book
it
is
already
it?
fits in with the series that I wrote. I haven't published yet, so it's manuscripts, not books.
Mm-hmm.
Dystopian of the Puget Sound.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great story. I got up in the middle of the night because I couldn't sleep and I started writing. I wrote the first chapter. But I don't have time for that one. I've got another book to finish.
Yeah, that's tough. It's always the new fun idea that derails us from
Absolutely.
the
There's
last
too
idea.
many things.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I'm delaying this because I'm talking about me. We're here talking about you.
Well, I can definitely understand what you're talking about because I set aside my epic fantasy project and I was just going to write one D.D. Black mystery and then kind of take some time off, finish my fantasy, then go write another D.D. Black mystery, and now it's 8 novels later, or nine novels later, 8 in one series. The new book in the new series just launched, and I haven't finished the fantasy still. I didn't know this pen name would take off in the way that it did, so it's a lot of new
Oh shucks.
demands. Yeah, it's a
Shucks.
first
You
world
don't know
author
D.D.
problem
Black.
to have.
Just forget about it.
Yeah, but it is frustrating because the project I do really want to finish is still sitting there, so I know how it feels.
Well, you've got some time, maybe. Find some time.
I hope so.
Get it done. I'll read it.
I'd love that. Yeah, it's if things go well, it'll be out this fall.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Mine might also.
Good.
Recalled. So we'll see how that gets there. Well, now
Yeah.
I've got a
Now we better
reason
do
to
it.
finish it.
We better actually do it now.
It's going to be on the air. People will know.
Yes.
All 2 of them.
There's no takebacks.
Hey, this is fun. I know we got things to do. We're at the conference.
It's almost lunchtime, right?
It is almost lunchtime, and we are like in the same part of the world right now, so I don't have to say, oh yeah, what time is it where you are?
Yeah. And I've done a lot of those interviews.
So-
Okay, this was fun.
Thank you for being here. Thank you
Absolutely.
for sitting in with Author in the Headlights, sponsored by DurhamandPublishing.com. Always got to say those kind of things because it's important in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks again.
Thanks.
Sponsored by DurhamandPublishing.com.